So once upon a time, I feel like I knew what the best gold coin to stack was, but now that I have at least a few of those, I'm not sure what's next. So I've been thinking about what coin to start buying as my primary and then what kind of gold to put together to keep me on track. So I figured that I would put together a video on the pros and cons of a few different options in case some of you are kicking around the same question of what to buy. Now there are a lot of good options, so I'm not going to get too caught up in this. The thing I'm trying to do though is just keep a focus on a single coin for the sake of liquidity. It's just easier to move a tube of one thing rather than trying to move 20 different coins. That might not even be a huge deal to you. It's just something I care about. If you're not worried about that part of it, well, the pros and cons might just help you with your next one-off purchase. I live in the United States, and that has a big impact on my preferences. We'll just start there. I already have a base of American Eagles and now Buffaloes as well, so it's almost like I'm starting from scratch. Maybe even more like I can do whatever I want because I already have the most liquid options covered. Now, I don't know if that actually gets me off the hook or not, but if an emergency need did come up, I would at least have a start. And I think that opens things up a little bit for me to consider buying what I like rather than simply what I think is smart. So I'm looking at the obvious choices. I'm looking at the American Gold Eagle in both the 1 ounce and the 1/4 ounce size. Looking at the Canadian Maple Leaf, the Britannia, the Buffalo, and then a few others. I think everything I listed there is obvious. Now that other category, we're going to get to that in a minute. And I'll also say that I did make a purchase from the list, but I want to run through all of these before I get into it. So let's start with the American Gold Eagle. This is the most popular gold bullion coin in the world based on annual sales volume. Krugerrand, it still beats it for total sales, but that has been around a lot longer. And everything that I'm about to say for the American Gold Eagle will be pretty similar for the Krugerrand in other countries. Just keep that in mind. So if you live in the United States, you don't have anything against 22 karat gold, and you don't mind the design of the Gold Eagle, well then this is the clear winner. There are a lot of people who see gold purely as a financial asset, maybe even an investment here in the US, and they're going to know this coin immediately. It's the primary coin here in the US. It's the Britannia of the UK. It's the Maple Leaf of Canada, the Krug for South Africa, the Kangaroo for Australia, etc. So if you want the widest possible buyer pool, then you go with the Eagle in the US and the coins I just mentioned elsewhere. The 22 karat alloy, that's meant to harden the coin. It's 91.67% gold. Is 3% silver, and then the rest is copper. And I don't know if I even need to say it here, but there is a full troy ounce of gold in the coin. Now that gives it a different tone than you find in 24 karat coins, and most people could care less. Now I just happen to be one of the people who does care a little bit. I do have more Eagles than anything else, but I think of them a little bit differently than everything else that I show on the channel. I have most of them vaulted, and I don't have any real strong desire, I guess, to drag them out and stare at them. I do think of them a little bit like a savings account, and that's probably a positive. Now the cons for the coin, of course, are the premium. You could also say the design and the alloy. That depends on what you think personally. But there are a lot of ways to find these coins at a lower premium. I mentioned a few of those on a video that I made a few weeks ago, and I will link that up. But beyond that, it's really just an aesthetic choice, at least for me at this point, because I have some already. Now, personally, I'm just not a huge fan of the design. It's a good-looking coin. There just happen to be a lot of better-looking coins. So the pros, again, are just how recognizable they are, how easy they are to sell, and then the buyback premium that you'll get if you go to a local coin shop. You'll get more back in premium for this coin than you will in really anything else. Buffalo might be about the same. Now right now I'm about 50-50 on coming back to the Eagle as my primary, so let's just take a look at a few more. The 1/4 ounce American Gold Eagle, it's the same thing. It's kind of a cheat. It's not really its own option. It has all the same pros and cons of the 1 ounce Eagle, but the premium is a lot higher, so that makes it a different story. It's running like 20 to 25% premium right now, and I'd have trouble buying at that rate over and over. I do like them though. They're one of my all-time favorite coins, maybe even my top favorite. And even at 25% premium, they come in around $550, so it's just a good price point. And just like an Eagle is comparable to a Britannia or a Maple Leaf or a Kangaroo, depending on your region, the 1/4 ounce is the same thing as well. But there is something about the popularity of the quarter ounce American Gold Eagle that just makes them command a much higher premium. So I'm interested in picking these back up, but I don't think that I'll make them my primary focus. And the next option to me is still the American Gold Buffalo. Let's just get that one out of the way. A lot of people commented on my last video about just working toward a second tube of Buffaloes. I'll probably pick up a few more regardless, but I am looking to decrease my overall premium, my overall cost of acquisition. So even though I think it's an easy top choice if you want a 24 karat option in the United States, now that I have a small pile of them, I'm interested in finding another government-backed 24 karat gold coin. It just costs a little bit less. And to me, the obvious choice is the Canadian Maple Leaf. In a lot of places outside of the US, this isn't the third best option or the fourth best option. This is the best option. It has been around since 1979. It was the first 24 karat gold bullion coin in the market, so it's very well known everywhere. And I think it's also one of the best looking gold coins anywhere. I just like the simplicity of the design. I've always liked it. And when they added the radial lines, to me, it just became hypnotic. Now, the downside here in the United States, at least, is that it's specifically named in a law that requires an IRS tax form submission. And that comes up if you sell more than 25 ounces. So it's not going to apply to everybody, but it is something to consider at scale. And I've talked about the 1099-B form quite a bit. Again, I'm not bringing it up as a way to avoid capital gains taxes personally, but the IRS is very specific about which coins trigger that reporting event, and this is one. So it's something to think about. A tube of 20 Canadian Maple Leafs, though, would never trigger that event since the 1099-B form is required if the sale is 25 ounces or greater. What I've found in the past, though, is that certain investors are going to shy away from them. So it's harder to sell a full tube of them because the people who would be buying a full tube of gold coins in the first place are going to be a lot more likely to be affected down the road if they go to sell the amount of coins that they have. And you can call that an edge case, but it's a very specific situation where you would much rather have a tube of American Gold Eagles. If you look at them individually, though, local coin shops will always buy these coins back. I find that they'll give you spot. Right now, they'll give you a little bit more than spot in my experience. And I know a few jewelers that are also willing to do the same, or at least close to the same. So there's no real downside to me in a Canadian Maple Leaf. They're a fantastic coin. I personally just really like them. They're just not super exciting. And I'm not sure that I could buy them over and over and over as my first choice. And so next up is the Britannia. The Britannia has a lot of the same pros as the Canadian Maple Leaf. For whatever reason, though, the Britannia just isn't that popular in the United States. It's been around since 1987, or at least I think it's been around since 1987. But it wasn't until this year that I think it really picked up popularity with the new security features. And I wonder a little bit if that will change things. It's a better coin for retail buyers because of the security features, and I have a feeling that that alone will increase the general popularity over time. There really is no downside beyond the lack of current popularity here in the United States. They're the same outer dimension as the Eagles, the Buffaloes, the Krugerrands, and it's the Canadian Maple Leaf, by the way, that's the oddball there. I didn't mention that. That's a 30 millimeter diameter where all these others are 32. So this one's actually a contender. Now the biggest pro, to me at least, is the premium. They're just really easy to find for deal prices. I've found them for 3%. Usually though, they're about 4 to 5% premium when most coins are going for 6 to 7. The American coins here in the US are going for 8 to 9. And if you want to do the math on that calculation to get to premium, I've had a few people ask, I'll just say it real quick. What you do is take the total price, you subtract out the spot price, you can find that at Kitco. So then you take the difference and you divide that by the spot price again. So just as an example, if the spot price was $17.50 and the total cost of the coin was $18.50, you subtract $17.50 from $18.50, you get 100, you divide 100 by $17.50, that's about a 6% premium. So on top of the nice premium that a Britannia has, they're just a gorgeous coin. I know a lot of people like the American Gold Eagle as is, but I think the US Mint should really update the obverse to have a more realistic, a more artistic Lady Liberty sculpture. The St. Gaudens version, that was fantastic 100 years ago, but the Lady Britannia is just a really good example of how nice a sculpture can be if you have modern tools to make it. I skipped right past this on the maple leaf, but the obverse features Queen Elizabeth, of course. Now on the Britannia, it just makes sense. And I know that some people avoid coins with the Queen on them, but that's just a huge percentage of the coins in the market. And if you had to choose a sculpture of Queen Elizabeth, this is actually a really good design, regardless of how you feel about the subject matter. I've never really had a big problem. I would say in the Canadian maple leaf, though, that sculpture of Queen Elizabeth is pretty lame. So other ways I could go. I could pick something else entirely. There are Philharmonics, Krugs, Kangaroos. All of those would be decent choices. I could even just say anything from the Royal Mint. They have great series designs. They tend to be very similar to the Britannia, so they would fit in a tube. I could say anything from the Perth Mint. They're all the same size. They have the same capsules. They could go in the same tube. That's not really what I'm going for, though. Just having that goal of putting together the Buffalo tube, it just kept me focused, and I was able to count down toward that goal. I'd like to do something like that again. There are other ways that I could go, though. I could stack low premium gold bars. Pamp Swiss would be my choice there. If I had to choose today, I'd probably go with those Lady Fortuna bars, and I have looked at them, but I don't know about the size. I don't know that there's a strong reason to buy a 1-ounce gold bar rather than a coin. They're relatively high on my list, though, all things considered. The big downside is that they're hard to sell, but I like them at the larger size. I just don't like the overall cost. That's something I'd have to get over. And then just a little bit more on why they're hard to sell. The reason is that they're easier to counterfeit. It's a felony just to counterfeit an American Gold Eagle or a Gold Buffalo. So anyone selling a counterfeit Eagle or Buffalo, they're going to have potential legal trouble. The bars just don't have that risk for sellers. It's also just easier to create a fake that's hard to spot when you're looking at a bar. And that's not just because they have less detail or that it's a rectangle. It's that people aren't as familiar with the expected dimensions. And then on top of that, you have the fact that the smaller bars come in assay cards, and that makes it even harder to measure them. And you can get around all of that, but the perception is there. People just think they're easier to fake, and they've heard stories about it, so they are less likely to buy them. People are just more skeptical. My local coin shops have always told me to avoid them, and I've seen them take bars out of assays to do an acid test on them just to prove that they're authentic, and that's part of a selling process that I really wouldn't want to go through. Once that bar is out of the assay, it loses a little bit of its value, and the local coin shops just will not give you spot for these, at least none that I've talked to. You'll always get less, and I've seen them be 10% less. So if you're considering bars, you'll just want to make a few phone calls to local coin shops to see what they'll give. You might find something totally different. The only reason that I'm kicking them around is that they are undoubtedly the cheapest way to stack for weight, and they could bring down my overall cost. Okay, so that covers the primary coins and I guess bars that I'm looking at. And I mentioned at the beginning of this thing that I did make a purchase from that list. I bought a 1/4 ounce American Gold Eagle. I bought it online. It was about a 20% premium, and that is a little bit more than I like to spend. But it's a Type 2. I don't have one yet. It wasn't a huge overall cost, and it puts me at a number where I think I'm at 3 ounces of 1/4 ounce American Gold Eagles now, so 12. I don't have that next goal yet, though. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to buy. I have a few Britannias. I have a few Maple Leafs. Obviously, I have Buffaloes and Eagles. So inside of that group of 4, I'll probably just round them out until I figure it out. I'd like to have 5 Maple Leafs. I'd like to have 5 Britannia. So regardless of whether I chase down a full tube of any of those things, I could buy a few more and again, just kind of figure it out. So I think the takeaway is just that there are a lot of good options. I've clearly thought about this a lot. I haven't even come up with one clear winner. So I think if you're looking, maybe just go for personal preference, where the deals are at the time. And then if once you have a few of them, you find the clear winner for you, I think there are a lot of good reasons to stick to it. I realize that's kind of a cop-out for me to just say I'm not really sure which one I'm going to be buying, but if I was buying today, I'd buy a Britannia. And I'm not done with buying the Buffaloes. I'll probably buy one of those in the near future as well. But let us know what you think is the best choice. I might even steal your idea for my next purchase. And while you're in the comments, you might as well hit the like button and make sure you're subscribed if you enjoy the topic. If you're still here, thank you again for watching. I always appreciate your time. Take care.